All right, thank you so much for coming back. We will continue with the program as advertised, and our next speaker will be taking us to a new intergalactic level with her talk on software development out of this world. And the speaker is Justyna Pelc. She is so much more than your everyday engineer. She's passionate about the space industry. She's a chairwoman of the Innspace Association, boasting many award-winning space projects within her portfolio. She's educated various space and robotic competitions, and she is a public speaker in her free time. Thank you, Justyna, for your free time. And if that's not enough, Justyna is head of communications at DAC.digital, and she has several years of experience in marketing, PR, and project management. Her key interests are communication and new technology. So without further ado, let's have a big round of applause for Justyna Pelc and software development out of this world.
So, hi everyone, my name is Justyna Pelc, and I need to tell you something. They never told me that I'm going to speak in front of like 1,000 people. So I think that TEDx was easier. So excuse me if I will make any mistakes, but I hope that we are going to have fun today. Usually I discuss some topics with the audience. Today it's going to be difficult because I can see you and probably I can hear you. So I need to change something in my presentations, but we can handle it. So here you can see my slides, but don't even look at that. I usually have like 5 slides with just topics because it's more for me than for you. So you can only listen to me. Okay, so today we are going to discuss software development in space industry. So the first questions I'm going to try to ask you is where you can find software development in space. Okay, space station. What else? You need to be like louder because I can't hear you. Great. What else? Rovers. Oh, that's my favorite topic. Okay, what else?
Satellite technology.
Great. Usually we are discussing like deep space technologies, so it's cool that you mentioned satellites. What else? Okay, we have like 1,000 people here, so... Okay. Okay, telescope, yes, great, web telescopes. What else? Okay, you have no idea. What can I say? We need to go further and discuss some topics. So, trying to find out where you can find your space in space industry. Oh, that's funny, I never thought about it. You need to think about like 3 segments of space projects. So I've mentioned deep space, but we have downstream and upstream as well. And do you know what is it and what are the differences between them? That's an easy question. Come on. No, no, it's not easy.
It's easy. The answer is no.
Funny audience. I always love to work with programmers. Okay, so we have downstream, upstream, and deep space. And if we want to talk about space projects in Europe, but in USA as well, we need to differentiate them, I think, in the beginning. So we have, let's start with deep space technologies. I think you are all familiar with that. You've mentioned rovers, you've mentioned rockets, you've mentioned like all things that we are sending into space, and that's the easy part. But this is not the part where money are, and money are the most important in the world. So if you want to do space and earn some cool money, you need to do the things that are more useful. So you have downstream and upstream. Upstream are the technologies that you can send to our orbit, so mostly satellites, small objects. And downstream is like using this technology on Earth. So for example, you can use the satellite data to, I don't know, for governmental issues, for ecological issues, I don't know, everywhere. And ESA is distinguishing one more category, which is space-related technologies. And this is the category where you use space technologies on Earth to solve problems here. For example, in some, I don't know, fabrics, shops, or in industry in general. So we have like 3 different kinds of space projects. And if you want to discuss software development in space, you need to think about different risks and different challenges that you can meet during this project management and during running those projects. So if you are thinking about space projects, what is the biggest risk that you would mention? Again, this is the easy question. Like, no wrong answers. So
Lack of money.
that's always the case, but like think about more specific problems, like related to technology and to space.
Send something to space and it breaks, it's hard to fix it.
Okay, so this is the first and the very important issue, that we have usually only one chance to send something. So it needs to be, yeah, exactly. We need to think about reliability of our projects, and it's very important in software development because it's easier to check hardware if it works, but you all know how it looks like with software development, and that testing is not always so good as it should be. So this is the first thing. The second one.
Gamma rays.
Okay, that's more physical requirement, but here we should take into consideration that we have external conditions that can affect our hardware and software as well. And if we are sending something into space, for example, we don't have atmosphere, so there is nothing that can prevent us from, as you mentioned, X-rays, but all kinds of radiations. So yeah, this is something you should take into consideration. But what else? Think about something unique. Okay, that's a great example if you, for example, are sending something to Mars, that you need to communicate with it, and you need to take into consideration that, for example, you need up to like 20 minutes to send or to receive the data from Mars. So this is, for example, a problem. What else? Yeah, it's hard to maintain something that it's in space. So again, the same case, but from the another perspective. What else? I can't hear you. Yeah, exactly. I was hoping that someone is going to mention that. So if you are sending something to space, your resources are limited. So for example, if you have satellites, you can have solar panels to have energy to supply your satellites, which can be very tricky if you want to do something on board of the satellite with limited energy. And I think that writing energy efficient code isn't something that you usually do on your daily basis. And this is something very common in space. What else? Once I can.
When user doesn't know how to operate.
That's yeah, that's the case in all projects, I think, but most of space projects should be autonomous. So yeah, that's can say the same issue, that we should ensure operation of our software smoothly. Okay, let's go further. Maybe you can think about some other issues during our discussion. Okay, there are two more things I would like to mention, so you need to guess again. Yeah, what else?
Maybe scale, because if you want to provide a service, you probably need to do it for all globe, or at least for a large part of it.
Okay, so this is the specific case for upstream technologies, and you're right, that's one of them. And if we are talking about upstream, so mostly satellites, what else is very important? Yeah, all of this. But what else? Very, very known problem, which is optimization. So if you want to send something to space, you have limited resources, you have limited, for example, bandwidth. So if you want to, what is the biggest problem with the data generated by our satellites? What?
The noise?
No. The size of it. We can generate great data, high resolution data, but the volume of data is too big for us to download it. So this is the main problem with the satellite industry. So we are sending into space more and more satellites, but we don't have capacity to download the data. So what can we do? What? Yeah, exactly. Edge computing in space is one of the trends we are going to discuss. So you need to think about it, how to optimize the data, how to prioritize the data, or maybe how to pre-process the data in the orbit to save, for example, some space to download. What else? We mentioned reliability, and there is the one word that is connected to that we should ensure. Safety is important on many levels. I mean, cybersecurity as well as safety in general, but how you want to ensure safety? Yes, great. That's the word I wanted to hear. Yeah, redundancy is the very important issue in all space projects. So as you mentioned at the very beginning, we have only one chance to send something. Of course, if we are sending something cheap, like satellite, we can, of course, send more satellites, but if you are going to develop the rocket, probably you have like 1 or 2 chances to send it and to make it work. So redundancy of all your subsystems and systems is very important. So we can go further. Yeah, so now we know something about space projects. I mean, we have only 40 minutes, so it was like just a quick discussion. But most of you probably is wondering if getting a job at NASA is easy. So I know that this is kind of different topics. We mentioned space projects, now working at NASA. I can promise you that there will be more different changes in our presentations on different topics, so don't worry. So what do you think? Yeah, that's one of the cases, that in most cases you need to be US citizen to work at NASA. Why? I can't hear.
It is their house, their rules.
Yeah, that's one of it. But USA treat space industry similar to like military, so they treat it like their governmental issue. That's why they prefer US citizen. So does it mean that you can't get a job at NASA? That's an easy question, because if I'm asking, yeah, easy. It's not easy, but it's not impossible as well. So even if we need to be the US citizen to work at NASA, if you will check NASA employees, 1/3 of them is actually foreigners. So how they did it? That's still the more difficult option, I guess, because you need a few years of your marriage to apply for citizenship. So it can be difficult, but you have a few options. So first of them, you can be a scientist and you can be enrolled in some scholarships or just science exchange. And there is actually quite a few Polish scientists at NASA. So this is the one option. The second one, you can be just a student, find some scholarship, and then you can go to NASA to work for free. But we are at software development conference, so this question is asked on purpose. So the third option is that you can be, for example, software developers. Why? Okay, so where NASA has a few headquarters. Okay, one is on Florida, and 2 are in California. So what else is in California? Silicon Valley. And what does it mean? Yeah, NASA is a public institution. So as you may know, salary is not that great as like all giant tech leaders with Google, Microsoft, and everything else. So like every other company, NASA, it faces problems with finding developers and keeping them. So actually being a developer opens for you many, many possibilities to work at NASA. For example, in the most exciting NASA headquarters, which is called JPL. You know what is JPL? Yeah, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This is the organization that sends all the rovers and cool deep space missions. And actually, NASA JPL is you are not hired by NASA, you are hired by Caltech, which is the university. And university can hire actually a foreigner. So that's why if you visit NASA JPL, you can find that you can meet every language and every scientist. And it's very difficult to find actually US citizen there. So that's how you can be enrolled in NASA position without being a US citizen. So that was just a short introduction to space industry, because I think that the most interesting thing for you could be, okay, that's one thing more. So if you want to read about NASA projects and how to be involved in NASA headquarters and NASA positions, you can check their website. So they have a few handbooks about software development, project management, and running all projects. So probably you should start with being familiar with their requirements. And what's very nice, they have like course catalog, so you can take part in some workshops. Some of them are online, most of them are in USA, so that's a difficult part. But if you would like to work there, probably that's the place you should start to look at. So the second thing is that you can obviously work in European Space Agency. So probably most of you know, what is it, yeah? Yeah, so if we want to discuss the European Space Agency, we need to mention that Poland joined European Space Agency a few years ago. So do you know when exactly? You can guess. 2012. 2013 is the date where Polish Space Agency were established. So that's a funny story that we joined a European Space Agency earlier, then we established our own space agency. And that's the reason why we sometimes have still problems in our space industry in our country, but maybe this is the discussion, you know, when the camera is off. So yeah, that's one thing. Okay, so what can you do to work for a European Space Agency? Or maybe I will change the question, what you can do to work on European Space Agency projects. Yeah, I need to dance on the stage because... yeah, but how to be enrolled in that? Most people don't know that if you are thinking about NASA, they are developing their own technologies at NASA. If you are thinking about ESA, they usually have contractors. So if you want to work on most exciting projects for European Space Agency, the best option is just to be hired by one of the companies that actually takes part in ESA tenders or bids and develop the projects for them. So that's an interesting case if you are thinking about being involved in space industry, that working for our own space agency, I mean, even Polish Space Agency, but also European Space Agency, isn't the best option. But if you are considering that, you need to take one of the very important issue into consideration, which is I will show you, and now you should understand, because we are in Europe and we have standards for everything. So, if you want to develop projects for ESA, the first thing that you should do is be familiar with European Cooperation for Space Standardization regulations, which is like the tons of paper. Okay, if you are reading online, so it's tons of pages that regulates everything about space projects, including software development. So it's not like that you can write a code and send it into space. Of course you can, but it won't be for ESA projects. If you want to develop any ESA projects, even small one, you need to, except of like following the terms of the bid or the tender that you are taking part in, you need to still include all requirements from those standardizations documents. So I think that the first thing should be to read it, and it's very difficult actually to understand that. So I suggest you to just visit the website, and they have also the workshops, free workshops and free webinars about that. So this is the great step to take to actually be familiar how the space projects and how the software development in space is done. Never mind. Okay, so yeah, that's the one thing. The second one is that ESA is the European organization, and that's the good part, because you have the whole learning hub with all free and open source materials. So if you want to know everything, I mean, ESA, for example, has workshops now. There is like the series of workshops about AI and ML in space. So you can attend like every week another topic on AI and ML. To be familiar with those kinds of projects for ESA, but for space in general, they have like the huge resource database with documents, with videos, with workshops, with webinars, with everything, because it is like the public institution financed by public money. So in Europe, you know how it looks like. You need to publish everything. And that's the best part about it, that you can get the knowledge for free in like 3 clicks and start to develop even your own projects. Okay, that's the tricky question. So, do you have any questions about ESA projects or European Space Agency? Oh, for sure not rockets and other vehicles. Yeah, but this is the discussion about how European Space Agency works. Because you need to consider that it works on geo-return rule. So it means that it has the budget from the countries, and in percentage, as much as you pay, as much your companies need to receive. So we developed the projects that countries that pays the more money would like to develop. So it's like more political approach that NASA, where you have like one country and one organization, so you can plan it in a different way. Of course, they have other issues. It's not that easy at NASA at all, because you know every governmental change means like change in the NASA projects, and lots of them are actually now dead because the funding was cut. Yeah, that's a tricky issue as well. But ESA works at a different terms, and that sometimes is a problem. But the good thing is that our Polish budget increased in this year. You know why? Because what? Yeah, because we have the Polish astronaut, and he's going to fly actually soon. I don't remember when, but with Axiom mission. Yeah, I need to check it. But it increases our budget from like less than 1% of whole ESA budget to actually a pretty good amount. So now we can apply for the funds to do some cool stuff. And this is the great moment for you to start to work on your own space projects. And the second following question is, do you or can you start to work on your space projects right now? Or can you apply for space projects? Or how you can start? Do you have any ideas? Yeah, that's one of them. So, of course, you can be hired by ESA. You can apply for a job to the company that is ESA contractor. But you can apply your own ideas as well on ESA website. There is the website, as you mentioned, called Ideas ESA. And yeah, if you will write like Ideas ESA, you will find the whole platform where there are published different topics on regarding the needs of ESA, for example, I don't know, AI for satellites or embedded systems for something. So you can, if you have any ideas regarding to that, you can apply the short idea of your system, and then if you are chosen, the ESA will guide you through the whole process of applying for the funds, and actually you can apply even as a private person to do some space projects. Of course, it would be easier to apply as a company, but still you can be enrolled in your own space projects. Of course, the funds are not like 2 million, but in software development, I guess, usually you don't need as much money as in case of hardware development. So that's a cool thing for you if you want to start, to just apply for the ideas that ESA is publishing, or the same, you can prepare your code for NASA, but this is for free. So NASA has the whole platform with open source code that you can like be the part of it and add some of your ideas or just software development things. So if you would like to take part in NASA projects, you can do it as well, even as a foreigner, but you need to take into consideration that they don't pay money for that, so ESA is better. Yeah, and we have still 15 minutes, so the main question, which still is very interesting for all of you, as I think, is if Poland actually can into space. So that's the story of all memes about Polish space industry. So what do you think about our own space industry? Do we have space industry? Small one. How small? Yeah, you are both right. So we have really small space sector. So I mentioned you that we joined European Space Agency like over 10 years ago. So that's the first question, that our space industry has like over 10 years. So it's not that much. If you are thinking about the time that you need to develop actually the space projects, it's not like half a year. It's usually a few years, or if you want to develop a hardware, it can be even more. So that's the first question. The second one is like, if you will follow the ESA tenders and bids, you will find out that over 100 companies and public institutions, that's important, apply for any project. So in general, probably we have like 100 companies that applied for something, but including all universities, because actually our universities are pretty involved in space industry and develop many interesting solutions. So if we are thinking about companies, probably it will be like the 60, but some of them applied only once, some of them are doing the projects all the time. So if we are considering like the space sector in Poland, it would be like, I don't know, 50 companies that matter. Okay, that matter maybe 10, but 50 in general. So yeah, this is really small industry. And what is the second reason why the space sector in Poland is so small? Money, yeah, that's the obvious one. So for now, our government they didn't see any importance in supporting space sector. Of course, we had some funds, but okay, that's a tricky part about our space strategy, which is, yeah, you should read about it. That's a funny story. We still don't have any space strategy, and we try to develop it for the last 8 years. So I think the money and the lack of strategy, what should be the Polish place in space industry, and what should we be good at, it's the main reason why we can't develop it further. I guess that increasing the budget for ESA, and it's like significantly increasing, can be a game changer for us. Yeah, there is even a ESA BIC, which is the incubator for startups, space startups, and it opens this year, I guess, in 2 cities, in Rzeszów and Warszawa. So probably we can have more startups in this sector as well. So maybe there will be a wind of change for us to develop our own space projects. But are you familiar with any Polish space projects? Once again, which rover?
There was a contest for a rover that is almost one.
I know many students' rovers, but it's not the same. But I don't know which rover you are talking about. So yeah, that's a tricky part for me. But yeah, I know that ESA had one competition, but it was still more about computer vision that adjusting the rover itself to the moon conditions. So I don't know if you are talking about this competition or maybe it was the... Yeah, so still it was interesting competition, but it was more about computer vision than rovers itself. So the hardware wasn't adjusted to space conditions. So that's one of the problems. But what else?
Do you know we have this drilling machine that
failed? Yeah, we had, yeah, space is hard, as we know. So we had a drilling machine in one of the Mars mission. It was developed by one of actually this significant Polish companies called Astronika. They have many space projects, but yet the project failed due to a few reasons. We know some reasons that may cause it, but we are not sure. But yeah, that was one of the projects we took part in, and it was actually a huge achievement for Polish space industry. But what else? Yeah, many sensors. Like companies and universities developed many sensors and small subsystems for many space missions. So that's for sure something we are good at. But what else? Okay, I should move maybe in a more professional way. But yeah, we had a few days ago quite an interesting mission regarding something we were discussing a few minutes ago. It was the mission developed by KP Labs. This is actually probably the most interesting for you company, because they are focusing mostly on software development and data science. So if you are looking for the place to work on, probably KP Labs is interesting. This was the satellite that was going to test one of the technology that we were discussed regarding to the problem with download and satellites. So what do you think? What was the reason to send this satellite into space? No, it was like pre-processing the data on board of the satellite. So even if we know that the volume of data produced by satellites, it's so huge that we can't handle it, we still send, like, in general, few satellites that were trying to pre-process data on board of the satellite. So actually, we are now pioneers of that. So the previous mission was ESA-FI lab to ESA-FI something satellite. So this was the first project of its kind to try to pre-process data. And this is like probably second, maybe the third or fourth, I don't follow all of them, but still this is the very beginning of such a technology. So yeah, probably it can change a lot if we start to think about pre-processing the data on satellites, but as you already know, it has many problems, like with energy, or maybe with hardware that can be adjusted to the space conditions, but it can solve a very important problem. I mean, would you like to pre-process data on board of the satellite? So what would you do, and with what kind of data, if that was your project? I see only you, so that's why you need to answer. Okay, so let's think about Earth observation satellites. So basically, you have the photos of Earth. So what can be a problem with that? Clouds. Satellite is in the orbit. You are on Earth. You want to have the clean view on Earth, or like the specific area. But most of those photos is covered by cloud. So it makes the photos useless. So basically, we download the data that are useless and that are huge, thanks Ola, only to trash it because we can't use it. So for example, one of the things that we could do would be just to detect the clouds and to dismiss those photos, to send only the good ones to the Earth. And this way we can save a lot of volume and still have something we would like to have to actually pre-process it, to actually process it further. So that's one of the problems that we could solve with such a technology. Probably there is more of that because, as you know, satellites, of course, we have like Earth observation satellites, but we have like the navigation ones. We have the satellites with SAR images. So different kind of satellites have different problems, and pre-processing the data could solve some of them. So that's one of the interesting Polish solution that is quite new because it was launched exactly a few days ago. I don't know, last week, I guess. So I suggest you to read about this project more because this is just the first mission, and KP Labs has more plans to do it. So I need to, I have like just 3 minutes. So the last slides, and then is the time for you to ask me questions about anything, software development, biology, human on Mars, or anything you want. So to summarize our discussion, I would like to ask you, what directions do you see for like software development in space industry? So we mentioned a few problems and a few segments. So now you should know what technologies could be good to start to work on them. For example, as you guys as software developers, to be in the front of new technologies. So what would be the directions for software development in the space industry? Image analysis and the whole computer vision is, the first, I guess the most important one, because the more, like, if you are watching space sector, the most amount of money is, of course, in satellites industry, and even in, if not satellite, but satellite data. So all industries, even public institutions need to use data from satellites to prevent or just to analyze something, to use it, I don't know, for construction, for ecology, for fires, for ecological catastrophes, everything. So satellite data with image processing and with computer vision is one of the important topics. What else?
SETI project, searching for extraterrestrial life.
That's the most interesting direction. But for me too, but there's not so much money for that. So usually this is done only by the public institutions like NASA or ESA. So that's the problem, that this is the public money. it's hard to earn money on that, so that's why probably this is not the most popular direction, but the most interesting one. What else? Education. Yeah, we need more software developers in space, but we need more software developers in like all industries, so that's obvious. What else? AI. I mean, guys, AI is everywhere right now, so of course we need it in space. And this is connected with another topic we mentioned, which is optimization. So now, if we are in space, we need to optimize everything because we have limited energy, limited resources, limited everything. So optimizations, and that's where like machine learning and artificial intelligence can help. These are the very important directions for developing the software projects in space. What else? Yeah, data analysis. Exactly. We mentioned the volume, the huge volume of data. So, and we are going to send even more satellites into space in the coming years. So I think that big data and data analysis are going to be a hot topics for all developers during the next years. What else? Yeah, that's more futuristic, but yeah, this is the one of the directions that space projects will follow, so that's for sure. What else? Life support systems. Yeah, this is another case like these extraterrestrial missions that most projects are done with the cooperation with public institutions, so there is not a huge market for that. But life support systems can be used on Earth to solve some of our problems with like the air pollution or with the temperature and everything on Earth. So that's the good direction to actually solve two problems at the same time. And now I need to cut, so I just... So something we discussed more of those projects. I would like to mention only autonomous systems and all of the software that is related to that. And now is the time for questions because they want to cut my head. So yeah, thank you.
No, we're not going to cut your head off. We're going to slash your throat. There's a difference between those two. Okay, Justyna, thank you so much for your stellar, pun intended, presentation. And knowing that is going to raise a lot of interest, we have planned an enormously long break. So yes, we do have time for Q&A. Questions, please. Insights, thoughts.
So no questions.
Hi. You mentioned that AI is like the next generation for the space mission. I would like to ask, there are any standards for this implementation? Because we know it should be robustness and so on, and also the power consumption is not low.
Yeah, that's important questions. We don't have so much of them, but as I mentioned, you for sure should read those standardization, like ECSS terms. That's the first thing you should read. And then ESA had a series of webinars where you can listen about their approach to AI and ML. So I think that this would be the good source of knowledge for you. But as everywhere, AI and ML is like developing right now, so we need to wait for more regulations and requirements for them, for AI projects.
What was interesting for me, it's already standardized in this European standardization or in NASA standardization. Like, for example, for FPGA, we have some standardization how to develop code for space mission.
To be honest, I don't know all of them, so I can't answer these questions. So this is like the tons of pages about everything. So probably ESA has some terms on that, but I can't tell you exactly how and what because I haven't read it like each too much for me, and I'm not doing it on a daily basis, so I wouldn't even understand. But yeah, probably it would be the first source for me to check it.
Okay, thanks.
More questions, please.
Like, in your opinion, what is the most significant Polish project that we have?
The question is, what's the most significant Polish project
Yeah.
in space?
It's difficult questions because, as I mentioned, ESA works on like geo-return role. So because we had like limited small budget, we didn't have like the huge, very known projects because you demand more money for that. So we usually develop some subsystems, maybe sometimes systems, but never the whole mission or the whole project. So it's really difficult to choose the one of them. Probably this mission to Mars and being a part of Mars mission would be the most significant, but it depends on the technology. For example, if you are thinking about AI in space, this KP Labs mission would be the most significant. If you are thinking about robots and vehicles, for me, this Mars mission would be the most significant. So it depends, but we don't have like the huge, very known projects because we are usually part of the bigger group. But I hope that with this increased budget, now we can do even better projects.
Thank you. Any more questions, inquiries, comments? Yes, we've got one over there, please. So be patient with us, please, and we'll come running.
Oh my God, I don't see Ola.
Hi, here I am.
Yeah, I see the hand, but I can't see you, so, but
Okay,
don't worry.
so first, thanks for the presentation. And the question is, how do you think we could increase this growth speed of Polish space industry? Except for the money, of course.
I don't think that our space industry will change so much, but this is, just in my opinion, a bigger problem that we, for example, have many hardware companies, but the money are in the software because it's easier. You don't need to spend so much on developing, on testing, like you just need to have a few people and computers. So we would like to go in the direction of like data analysis or satellite data, but we have more engineers and companies interested in developing the hardware, which is of course more difficult and more time and money consuming. So I think that the lack of like the strategy for Poland, how to actually develop the space industry, is the biggest problem. So for sure we have more money, we will have better and more projects, so that's for sure. But I don't think that it will change our space industry so significantly. I don't know if it answers your question. Great.
Thank you. Any more questions, anyone? One from me, if I may, Justyna. You get a check for 10 million euros. You can do whatever you want with it as long as you invest it in a space program. What is... We'll talk to Taras later, don't worry about your check. But first the answer, please. What would you invest it in?
I would lie on the beach.
What would be your personal choice?
Yeah, I would choose the vacation on the beach. So if I can't do that because it needs to be space projects. For me, I guess I'm deeply involved in space robotics. And that's what I do on, maybe not on a daily basis, because you know that professionally I am like marketing manager and I deal with communication. But after work, I'm involved in like Space Robotics Society and like rovers competitions. So I would invest it in some robotic mission. I don't know if 10 millions would be enough for sending something to Venus, but maybe at least moon rover or moon small robot would be cool.
Okay, after the conference, we'll start a Justyna.pl kind of thing for you, Justyna. Other than that, Justyna Pelc, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.